Hey everybody, it's Rochelle from the Memoirs of the Redheaded Hairdresser again. Sorry I've been a little MIA for a while now. Um, I'll tell you all the stories. You'll get to hear all the stories of why if you keep listening to my stories. Um, but I did also reflect while I've been MIA on where I want this to go. And I am in the process of writing the book, so stay tuned for that. But I feel like I need to not just tell you my fun dating stories and how crazy they are, um, but also share with you lessons that I've learned from them. I feel like it's part of this is just to help navigate for other people through the crazy dating world because dating isn't what it used to be. It's We live in a very selfish world, right? So navigating through the dating world is hard. And it's, I guess, hard to know what to do. So I will share with you my crazy dating stories, but also the lessons that I learned from them and different things that I think have helped me and hopefully help others. Okay. So today I'm going to share with you, I am going to call him high school crush guy. Okay. So high school crush guy is a guy that I actually knew in high school. He didn't know me, and I actually didn't know him. He just was there, and he was a year older than me in school, or actually maybe 2 years older than me in school. Yeah, I think he was like maybe even 3 years older than me in school. He's definitely 2 years older than me. Anyways, I had a crush on him in school. And I thought he was super, super cute. But I did not know him. I just knew who he was. Okay? So fast forward however many years, because I'm not going to tell you exactly how many. Then you'll know how old I am. A woman never reveals her age. But he still lived in my hometown. So every time I would go back to my hometown to visit, once I found out he was single, I would just make it a point to either stop and say hi to him or have him say hi to me. So it first started, I found out from a friend that he was single. And so, since small town, everybody knows everybody, I was already friends with him on social media. I hit him up and I said, "Hey, I'm going to be in town at this time, at this place. If you'd like to bump into me, you should be there." And he came. And we talked for over an hour at a gas station in my hometown, and it made me late for where I was going, but I didn't care because I was talking to my high school crush guy. And so that started, gosh, over a year, maybe 2 years of flirting, where every time I'd be in town, I would stop at his place and say hi. Um, and I would tell him, like, if you're ever in my area, you should come say hi. But he's awkwardly shy, come to find out. And he would never really make any moves on me. And he would say, like, nice things, like, "Oh, you like that? Maybe I'll make that for you," and different things. I'm like, "Oh, I'd like that," and little things, but never really pursued anything, right? And so, like, my family would always joke with me, "You should just move back to town." And I was like, no, that means I failed in life. And then I started joking, "Well, yeah, that's only if Mr. So and so, high school crush guy, ends up like being the one and we fall in love, then I'll move back." And I would joke about it, and it became my joke. And I thought I was really funny about it, but he would never pursue it. So I never did anything about it. And I'd been on, dates with a lot of other people in between or whatever. And then one day I had booked a trip to Moab. And I had already paid for my hotel room. I'd already paid for pretty much the majority of the trip. And I was going to take my baby sister with me. We were going to take her Jeep and we're going to go off-roading all over the place, right? It's going to be super fun. And last minute, she got vertigo and couldn't go with me. And another one of my sisters suggested I take High School Crush guy. So I had called several other friends because I'm like, I don't really want to go with this guy I don't know very well. But I know him well enough to go. I would be comfortable. So I called a few friends. No one could go last minute. So I called him and I said, hey, what are you doing this weekend? And he's like, nothing. I'm like, you want to go to Moab? He's like, yeah, sure. I'll go to Moab with you. So I went a little bit longer way on my way down, picked him up. We went to Moab. Got down there, got checked into the hotel room, and then we went to eat dinner. And he was really sweet. He paid for dinner, but technically I had paid a lot of money for the hotel room. So I didn't even feel bad letting him pay for dinner because, yeah, I'd already had quite a bit of money into this. So then next morning, oh, well, I should back up and just say there was 2 beds in that room. And I was like, all right, you want to sleep in which bed do you want? Kind of a thing, right? So he took his bed, I took mine. Next morning, we got up and I drove into Arches National Forest. Now, if you have not been to Arches, it's a must. I love it there. And I hiked that poor guy's ass off all over the place. I wanted to see as much of that park as I could in one day. And I promise you, I saw every single thing in that park I wanted to see. The only arch I didn't hike all the way up to was Bowtie Arch because the line was huge. It was the last one on my list for the day. And I did not realize I was almost out of gas. And I did not want to get stuck in the park with no gas. So I'm not kidding you. I hiked him to this one, that one, this one, that one. I would guarantee you that we hiked over 30 miles that day. I hiked him practically to death. And then we got back to the hotel, got the gas and everything, and he decided he wanted to take me to someplace really nice for dinner. So he looked it up what was available in the area, and he took me to a steak dinner at the Red Cliff Lodge. And I'll tell you what, that is a beautiful place. And I loved it. It was so great. And we had this perfect little moment sitting out there with a steak dinner, overlooking the river, and the beautiful red rock formations in the background. And you could see Mercury in the sky right above it as the moon comes up. I mean, it was just phenomenal. It was such a beautiful moment. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm sitting here with my high school crush, having this beautiful moment with this man. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I could maybe even fall in love with him and move back to my hometown. As horrifying as that sounded, all of my life, going back to my hometown, I was like, maybe that wouldn't be so bad. And in that moment, I'm thinking, what are the chances, right? So we get back to the hotel room, and he's like, I'd really like to hold you in my arms if you don't mind. And I'm like, so he kept his clothes on, I kept my clothes on, and he just snuggled in the bed with me that night. He didn't try a thing. He was a perfect gentleman. And it was nice, you know? It was really nice. And so I was like, I really like that. It was a really beautiful moment. It was. Then the next day we got up, checked out of our hotel, and we went and saw Dead Horse, which is phenomenal, by the way. We hiked the Corona Arch, which is probably I would say it's my favorite arch in the whole park. It's beautiful, but it's a hike to get there. It really is. And then we hiked to another one. It was like Sandstone Arch or something. You had to hike through a lot of sand to get there, so maybe that's where I'm referencing it. And it was in the same kind of general area as the Corona Arch. And that was super fun. And then we went over to Canyonlands, and I did most of the hikes I wanted to see in there. But I looked at him and I'm like, okay, there's one other arch that I'd love to see, but honestly, I don't think I have another 10-mile hike in me. And he's like, oh, thank God. Because I literally hiked that boy to death. And I shouldn't say boy because he's older than me, so he's a man. But I hiked him to death. And then I drove him home. And when I got to his house, he got a little emotional and he's like, I just don't want you to leave. I don't want this trip to be over. He's like, this has been one of the greatest trips of my life and I don't want it to be over. And I'm like, well, the trip has to be over, but nobody says we have to stop seeing each other. So that's how it started. And then within less than a week, it was just a few days later, he drove an hour and a half to see me. I live an hour and a half away from him. He drove up here to see me and took me to dinner. And then I drove down to my hometown to see him. I would say that following weekend. And then he drove up here again. Like, we were driving back and forth, keeping that road between us hot. And then this is when this is where it gets good. Ready? No. So it gets to the night that he stays the night, and I got to see it for the first time. And I called my sister and I'm like, no, I can't. Like, there's a lot of like TMI, but let's just say it was not what I expected at all. And my sister's like, oh, come on. I'm like, no, I can't. Like, there's no way. Absolutely not, no way. She's like, Rochelle, come on. You are the kind of woman who's going to get her needs met, so you'll be fine. And I'm like, no, I don't know about this. But I really liked him. I had this crush on him in high school, right? So I had to pursue it. So I pursued it. And yeah. Then I started realizing I'd go to his house, and his house was freezing. It was always cold at his place. Now, granted, I started seeing him before winter hit, kind of a thing. I think we went to Moab, I want to say the end of September time frame. So then, it's starting to get colder where I live in those months, October, November, December time frames, right? It gets colder here. His house is always freezing. And I realized he lives in a very old home, but he started a lot of remodeling projects and not finished any of them. So I'm like, well, why haven't you finished these things? And, I'll get to it. But I'm going there and I'm realizing his bedroom's 80% finished. His daughter's bedroom's 100% finished, and the living room's 100% finished. The rest of the house is 40 to 50% finished. It just looks like a great big giant remodeling project. And I started realizing while dating him, this is the way he lives his life. Like, he's been remodeling for years. It's not like he just started it. It's been for years. So I was kind of uncomfortable with that situation, but hey, that's his life, right? So I'm starting to realize, okay, a couple of little things going on here. Then I invite him to come up and go to a Halloween party with me and a bunch of my friends. I am super social, super bubbly, super out there. I mean, obviously, if you couldn't tell. And he dressed up with me. It was an 80s party. And I had a big fluffy tulle skirt out. I crimped my hair and had bright makeup on. And he wore like a Joe Dirt mullet wig and kind of looked like Joe Dirt. And we go to this party and he's just sitting in a corner. He's not trying to socialize. He's not trying to get to know my friends. And the social butterfly, me, is feeling like I have to babysit my boyfriend in the corner. who doesn't want to socialize. And I'm so not that person. And he finally realized I was not happy sitting in the corner. It's not what I do. And my friends are like, what are you doing? Rochelle never sits in the phone. I never sit in a corner. So finally he's like, you want to be with your friends, don't you? And I'm like, yeah, I do. And he's like, you can go with your friends. I'll be fine. And I'm like, okay. And I just get up and start socializing and leave him in the corner, feeling kind of bad about leaving this man in a room full of people he doesn't know. But I introduced him to everyone. Get to know people, right? So I'm realizing, okay, there's a few things about us that are not the same. But he's my high school crush. I'm pursuing this. I love this guy, right? I'm falling for him. So I realize that there's these few things again, they're going on that are not quite working. But we're going to make this work. We'll make this work, right? So we spent Thanksgiving together. Let's see, where did we have Thanksgiving? I'm trying to recall. I went there for Thanksgiving, and then that went okay. Like, that went good. And I was enjoying his company, and we were really, really kind of, getting stronger as a couple. And then in between Thanksgiving and Christmas, I ended up having to have a procedure done. And I ended up having to have a biopsy to make sure that there was nothing wrong. And I was so scared. And he was like, no, there can't be anything wrong with you. I just found you. There can't be anything wrong with you. And he acted so concerned. And, do you need me to go? And they're not going to let you in. COVID was in full force. So I'm like, I just need you to care. Okay, I just need you to care. I just need you to be there for me. I need you to care. So day of the procedure comes, and I tell him we are in a Snapchat. I just Snapchatted him so he can see me, hear my voice, and then he would return it, or else, and like if he wasn't busy, then we'd just talk on the phone. But we would do that. So I sent him a Snapchat saying, hey, how was your day? I just got home. I had my procedure today. How was your day? And when he was available, he sent me a video and he said, my day was good, long, I'm kind of tired. I think I'm going to turn in early, so, well, good night. And I sat there and I looked at my phone and I waited and I waited, and no message, no additional message. So I wrote him back and I said, I'm confused. I just told you I had my procedure done today, and you're not even going to ask me how I'm doing? And he's like, oh, I thought that was tomorrow. And I said, no, I clearly said it was today. And he said, well, now I feel like shit. And no, that was it. Nothing else. So I'm like, what the hell? So the next day, I waited for him to say something. Didn't say anything. So I called him and I was like, I needed you to care. I needed you to give a shit. Like, ask me if I'm okay. Ask me if I'm hurting. Like, you didn't even ask me if I'm in pain. And he's like, well, I felt like shit about it all day. Okay, well, I didn't know you felt like shit about it all day. You didn't say anything to me, right? So I'm so confused as to how this man is so emotionally unintelligent, not even aware that you need to show concern and empathy for my well-being. So I went the following weekend to his place, Nothing romantic happened between us, and he didn't even question it. And I thought to myself, well, that's weird. If I'm emotionally turned off and not even allowing physical contact, wouldn't you ask why? Nope, there was nothing. So at this point, Christmas was already coming. I'd already bought Christmas. We already had plans to be together for Christmas. So I figured, okay, well, he's got to talk to me about it over the Christmas break. Maybe he's just stressed out for the holidays and he'll talk to me during the Christmas break, right? So I get to his place. Nothing said. We celebrate Christmas. He's good to my son. He got Christmas for my son. I got Christmas for his kids. And, I thought to myself, he's got to say something. So after Christmas is over, we're in a car driving to his mom's, and he can't get away from the conversation, right? Because you're in a car, like, where are you going to go? So I just looked at him and I said, so when were you planning on asking me about my procedure? Oh, I don't know. I'm like, when were you going to ask me about the results of my procedure? Oh, well, I just figured you'd tell me. And I just looked at him and I'm like, are you serious? Like, I needed you to care. And he's like, well, I do care. And I'm like, you're not acting like it. So we get through Christmas and I just can't let it go. I realize that my needs in the relationship were not being met. So I just told him, I said, hey, look, I care about you a great deal, but I need to be with somebody who's going to be there for me during the hard times. I need to be with somebody who's going to care about me when it really counts. And he goes, so because I never asked you how you were doing, things are over between us? I'm like, yeah, pretty much. And I know he was devastated. He was heartbroken. But in all that time, he never tried to fix it. So here comes the lesson from that, okay? So, a while back, I put myself through counseling to heal, to find out what it was I was doing wrong, why I was attracting the wrong people, right? My counselor said to me, make a list. Have your list. Know what you're looking for. And I realized that I need that man who's going to care. The man who finishes tasks. The man who basically has the ability and the desire to also satisfy their partner, right? So I realized a lot of my needs in that relationship were not being met. And even though it did hurt, and I knew it would hurt him, I had to walk because it was what's best for me. And I have the list of who I'm looking for. And it's kind of funny because there are these basic things, so you think, right? These basic ideas of what your partner's going to look like, of what they're going to act like, what their personality traits are supposed to be like, how they're going to treat you, how they live their life, what kind of lifestyle they have, what life do they lead, and these things are all really important, and these things that you want to take into consideration. And I realized that in our selfish world, people are looking for a replaceable. And this specific story showed me that people can be so, relaxed in their mundane lives, right? They're okay with just coasting. And I'm not a coaster. I don't coast. I want to live life to the fullest. And unfortunately, that man did not meet those expectations. But he taught me a lot. And then come to find out, he's also finished some of his remodeling projects at his house since our breakup. So I would like to say, hopefully I was a positive impact on his life as well, and helped him see maybe a few things in himself that caused us to end but could make him better. Not for another woman, but to even maybe just for himself. As we go through our life, right, we learn, we grow, we evolve, we become better versions of ourselves if we allow it. Learn the lessons, know who you are, and know what you want. Stand your ground, and know you're worth it. You are worth waiting for the person that fits you. Don't settle. Of course, there's always give and take. Of course, there's always going to be problems. There's always going to be fights. There's always going to be hiccups in a relationship. It's also how you handle them. But also knowing when a situation is right for you and when it's not right for you. So hopefully you can learn something from my little story there. And I will look forward to sharing more stories with you. And I leave you with the idea that you are worthy, you are strong, you are loved, you are beautiful. Love yourself and know who you are and what you want. And always keep those goals in your sights. Keep your visions in sight. And good things will always happen. Love you. Hope to see you soon.